Imagine where society would be without one of our most reliant sources of energy, petrol. The world relies on petrol or gasoline in order to power many of our own vehicles and machines. Gasoline is a refined petroleum liquid that is most commonly used to power an internal combustion engine, and these are what are used to power vehicles. The topics that will be discussed throughout this short video include the origin and sources of petrol, the refinement process, and the configuration of the substance. As well as this, we will cover some of the many uses of petrol, the advantages and disadvantages of using this fossil fuel, and what alternatives there are for the future.
The petrol that we use for our cars doesn't just come out of the ground and straight into the cars. First, oil has to be obtained. Oil deposits are found in the ocean. Over the years, sand, silt and clay have been transported from the land to the sea. Chemicals in the water then dried these, and oil is trapped beneath them. These are then drilled out and have to be refined before becoming petrol.
The process of refining crude oil is a method called distillation. Distillation is a process when heating liquid mixtures, it will separate each component into different gases. The gas is then condensed into liquid form and collected. Repeating the same process with the same liquid will further purify the liquid, which is called double distillation. There are many different uses to petrol, such as gardening equipment, powering generators. The most common use of petrol is in vehicles. Petrol is the best fuel source because petrol is very flammable and delivers great amount of force into the engine.
Now you're probably wondering how petrol works. A typical car engine is 4 strokes. It's named so because it runs in, well, 4 strokes. This is how petrol works in a 4-stroke engine. The first stroke is called intake or the induction stroke. During this stroke, petrol and air is drawn into the cylinder. The next stroke is called compression. This is where the cylinder simply compresses the mixture of petrol and air before igniting it. The third stroke is called power stroke. As the fuel-air mixture is compressed, it is ignited, resulting in massive amounts of combustion, which is ready to be released. Finally, the last stroke is called exhaust. This stroke expels the burnt products of the combustion from the cylinder, ready to begin a new cycle.
Though this source of energy is so reliable and provides the world with so many advantages, there are certain disadvantages that make us question why we should even continue to use petrol at all. The first of which is that petrol is a fossil fuel, and these are main producers of greenhouse gases. A fossil fuel is a source of energy which is unrenewable, meaning that once it has been used, there's no way of getting that amount back. The modern world uses these fuels as their primary source of energy, as they're relatively cheaper and easier to gain access to. Studies show that the US, which holds no more than 5% of the Earth's population, actually uses more than a quarter of the Earth's supply of fossil fuels. In the United States, more than 90% of greenhouse gas emissions come as a result of the combustion of fossil fuels. As well as this, there's the issue of the demand for petrol increasing. With a world that burns gigatons worth of petrol each year, it comes as no surprise why it's yet in such high demand, it comes in such strict supplies. The reason that petrol prices are gradually increasing is made up of a number of factors, including demand, supply, the supplier, and the current economy. Yet even though there are a number of disadvantages, petrol has provided us with many opportunities that enhance our way of life. Petrol has given us the ability to power cars, which have the capacity to take us hundreds or even thousands of kilometers. The chances are that the majority have used some form of transport that runs on petrol in order to get where you are today. Without this source of energy, the world would be using outdated forms of transport. Another advantage is that apart from petrol being flammable, it is a relatively safe energy source which is easy to store, unlike something, for example, nuclear energy. As previously discussed, petrol is an easily processed source of energy which is currently in great supply, but will only continue to grow in demand and steadily diminish. As well as this, petrol is the cheapest car fuel on the market as it is the least refined and the least efficient. Although this is such a great source of energy, there are alternatives which are much more efficient and do not cause as much harm to the environment.
As Michael has shown, there are many strong disadvantages of petrol. Here I will list a few alternative energy sources that aren't so harmful to the environment. Alternative energy sources include electricity, solar power or biofuels such as bioethanol or biodiesel.
So as we've seen today, oil is drilled from sedimentary rock, usually found on the ocean floor. It is then refined to become petrol, in which we use in our vehicles. Petrol combusts inside an engine to move the parts of our vehicles. Although petrol is used in most vehicles now, it is not a renewable energy source. So in the future we will have to come up with alternatives such as electricity. This means that in the future we will live in a world where petrol is in scarce supply.